Love it. It's so good to meet you. Thank you so much for taking a minute out today.
Yes, I'm excited to be here.
Me too. So before we get into your good work, I want to know this. One of
Yes.
the more momentous things that's happened in our lives has been COVID, getting through this pandemic. How did you
Yeah.
survive the pandemic, and how has it changed the way that you approach life today in 2025?
Well, I survived. I actually ended up getting SARS. I didn't get
Oh
COVID
no.
like everyone else did.
Yeah.
And yeah, 2.5 years later, I'm still in recovery. So yeah, it was a mess. It was a big deal. It was in 2023 and then 2024 and into now it's been recovery for me. But it impacted my clients in different ways. It impacted me because I was just trying to survive, but nobody knew I was that sick because I just kept the show going.
Yeah. Yeah.
But for my clients, they actually weathered it very well because I instill a growth operating system. We have systems and processes in place. We use data to become predictive in business. So when things show up, we're not, caught with the proverbial pants down, if you will. So they did well. The clients that I started during COVID, well, it was a little trickier, obviously, because we were trying to instill a foundation in the midst of rumbling underneath our feet. So it was tricky for some of them, but it was the best financial year of my life, despite the fact that I was dying.
Yeah.
It
That's what I've heard. I mean, that's the thing. There was so much woe going on, but for business owners and for people that were really out there, was so much was going on.
yeah, one of my clients, I was literally in 36 meetings a month with them. They were spending 30 grand a month. They hadn't delivered on time in 10 years, and COVID really caused their business to boom in ways they didn't expect. And
Wow.
so that was a really big deal, in the midst of trying to be healthy and all of that. But it was a great gig, and we ended up getting them to deliver on time for the first time in 10 years. So that was really good.
Yeah. Well, there's so much going on. You have so many titles, business transformation expert, coach, catalyst, speaker, all of these things. But I want to know if I put you in
Yeah.
front of a bunch of 12-year-olds at career day and one of the kids
Yeah.
was like, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer that child?
I usually say I help businesses make more money. That's really it at the end of the day. All the work that I do really falls under the umbrella of helping individuals and businesses get to where they want to go. So some of them just want to grow to a certain size and be really great at that. Other clients want to grow and become, mega empires. So it really, getting them clarity on where they want to go is important, and then having a bit of realism of where they are so we can create a plan to get them there. So it's my work is really easy. It's so funny because I'm writing my fourth book right now. I just landed a publisher, and it's my secret sauce for the last 30 years of my work. And I didn't want to share it for a while because I'm like, people are going to know how easy it is.
Yeah.
But when your brain's wired a certain way, work is fun. It's
Yeah.
easy. The more complex the challenge, the better.
So what did you want to be at 12 years old? What was your dream job?
Veterinarian
Okay.
or horse trainer.
Okay. Did you pursue any of that at all?
No,
Okay.
I
Okay.
did not. No, I've had horses my whole life though. So I get to do the training on the side as a hobby. But no, my career landed in my lap in a very unusual way. I was in industrial technology, so a lot of business and a lot of engineering mixed together. I love how things work. I love taking things apart and seeing how they work and putting them together better. And so after I graduated with my bachelor's degree, I didn't know what I wanted to do totally. So I thought, well, I'll hang out one more year in grad school and figure it out. But I've always fallen into a role of teaching and teaching people new things. It's fun to do that. It's fun to see people like, oh, wow, lighten up. So while I was getting my master's in industrial and technical studies, my department chair said, part of the requirements is you have to teach a course for us. And I was like, where does it say that? And he kind of laughed. He's like, all right, I'm making it up. But he's like, we need I think you're a good leader. I see how you are in the classroom. I'd love for you to teach a course for us, and I'd love for you to inspire other women in industrial technology, because it was like less than 10%. And so I was like, all right. So I taught the class, did really well. It was a very awkward time of going from colleague to teacher, because the people I was in class with, now I was teaching in classes. But it turned out great. I did well. I loved it. And so they said, if you get a PhD, we'll have a tenure track job waiting for you. I was 23. So I was like,
Oh,
they are nuts. They have no idea what they're doing, but I'm going to run with it and don't tell anyone.
yeah.
So I found a new program at UC Santa Barbara. It was funny. They had a leadership and organizations program that they were expanding to corporate training and higher ed. So I was in their inaugural class and drove 180 miles a day for 3 years to get a second master's in my PhD. And then I taught at Cal Poly for 10 years. It was a great gig.
So take
So
me back to where you were born and raised, and what were these foundational elements of helping people, of having being highly driven? How did all of these seeds get sown?
So I think a lot of it was my parents. They started their own business. They were young. They started their own business when I was like, I think, three-ish or four-ish. And because it was a startup, I was at the shop with my brother. It was an insulation company. My dad had done sales for insulation, so he was a hustler and decided he could do it better on his own. And I think just watching them, they gave me a little job. I had to vacuum and, sweep the warehouse and, and insulation is not fun because it's itchy, but, you're in that environment. You see people come in, you see how your parents are working with them. My dad would take me out on jobs and, I understood at a pretty early age my dad was really well known for just going to a job site or to a house and saying, you actually don't need more. Whoever told you need more was not true. You don't need. So you start to get that, like, oh, this is really interesting, and how grateful they would be. So I think early start business has always kind of been interesting to me.
Yeah.
Um, the driven part, I don't know. I really don't know. I've always been just hardwired to figure things out. I'm the kid who is like, is a banana peel really slippery? I must
Uh-huh.
test this.
Yeah.
And
Uh-huh.
oh, by the way, it is.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so who's been kind of that inspirational force for you or a hero that's helped you evolve into who you are today?
That's a really good question. I always wanted a mentor, and I never really had that person. I'd say from my early days, it was probably my dad. I played sports year round, and they were uh, very active in coaching and being in my life a lot. So I think that was probably a big inspiration at an early age. And then probably my department chair, who saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. He became a mentor, if you will, and really helped me see that I had something unique. I didn't, think I really did. I mean, if someone had told me as a kid, as a 12-year-old, I was going to write 4 books, get a PhD, I would have been like, who are you talking about? Because I'm very, very grounded. I think, shoveling horse poop every day keeps your head on the ground, keeps you
Yeah.
at a certain level. And I think also just being in environments where I didn't fit in well. You have to. I created this mantra when I started teaching early on, which was go within or go without, because I really wanted to be respected. I was really putting in the hours and trying very hard to do a great job. And I have business faculty saying, "Oh, the student lounge is down the hall," and I just thought, gosh, how do I crack that code to be in the in crowd with them? And I realized I would never be in the in crowd with them. So I just, I go deep in my head and I think deeply about things. And I thought, well, if I don't really go within myself and find it there, I'm not even going to hear it when it comes from the outside. So go within, go without has really been my inspiration. If I can't find it inside of myself, no one's going to be able to give it to me. And I think that's been a powerful driver in my journey along the way.
So, when you get approached with this idea that in 10 years you're going to have this career, you're obviously thinking about what the career is going to be like. There's this ideological notion of what it's going to be like, and then there's the reality when it happens. What's been the
Yeah.
difference between the dream, the ideology, and the reality?
the reality is that I have to spend more time on getting the work than doing the work. That's really it. I've been super blessed with referrals for 20 years. And because I started Guide to Greatness when Catch came out in 2005,
Yeah,
I left the university, moved to Arizona, and never looked back. And I think the my thinking was I have a good network. I'm good at what I do. I'm thorough. I've got integrity. You know, people will see my work, and you know the work works, right? But it doesn't always work that way. You can't predict when the referral is going to come. So, you know, there's a lot of ebbs and flows. Sometimes I'm just barely like, oh my gosh, I've got so many clients right now. And then other times I'm like, dang, I'm going to be finishing with a couple projects. Where's that next client?
yeah,
So, more recently also, so I'm in my mid 50s, and some of my top refers, you know, they're retiring, they're moving on, doing other things. And so now I'm entering the marketing world. I'm on my third marketing agency, and this one's sticking. So third time is a charm, if you were
yeah.
wondering.
Yep, that's it. So, in the realm of business
Yeah.
or entrepreneurs, who do you admire the most? Who do you look up to? Who would you like to meet and maybe talk to that would help you on your journey?
Um, Gosh, I can't think of an individual, you know, out of the gate that just like, wow, I really want to meet that person. I really respect those who who are just, I mean, just the normal human who is just putting it all on the line. They have an idea, they want to prove it, and just really helping them get to where they want to go. So in my fourth book is all about the life cycle of its organizational maturity, 6 stages of growth. I've been fiddling with this thing since 1998. But I really do admire, and I really want to understand those micro decisions that are made that help those startups make it to, you know, stage 5 where they're innovating and creating new things, disruptive technology. But I don't know, it's hard. I know you can't necessarily emulate the success that one company or one person has with another, because you have to really dive deep into what were the beliefs and the values and the, you know, all of that stuff that you can't see. um, so yeah, I think the normal person is
Yeah.
good. I like meeting the normals.
Yeah. Yeah, I dig it. So let me ask you this. As an author, what was your favorite book growing up?
My favorite book growing up. Let me think. I've got lots of favorite books now, but the favorite book growing up was probably Shel Silverstein.
Yeah.
The series of his stories, they were always so interesting and twisted and turned, and
Yeah.
I always liked those. Yeah.
So writing a book on the secret sauce, the real
Mhm.
crux of what you've done, is there any
Yeah.
fear of putting it out there that they're going to finally find the Colonel Sanders recipe? Is there any of that?
Yes, always. With every book, it's that way because you put you so much of yourself into it, and then you're like, man, I hope they really like it. Although each book has been a completely different purpose and experience. Yeah, this one's a little close to home. I learned from the one of the publishers. I've met with 3 publishers. I'm pretty sold on one that I'm going to go with. But it was funny because she's like, Cyndi, you have this really vibrant personality, and you're fun and you're interesting. And she's like, your book doesn't reflect that at all. It's too businessy. And I was like, hmm. I was kind of going for that because I didn't know how much of myself to put into it. She's
Yeah.
like, you need to be in it. Put your stories in it. You've got great stories. And it's so ironic because all my other books are filled with vignettes and stories and very engaging. I get great feedback from them. But then when it was my own story, I was like,
Yeah.
eh.
Yeah.
So letting those show is going to be a biggie. And I, you know, there's always going to be haters. I always get the bad reviews here and there, and it's like,
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, it's going to happen. I remember
Yeah.
years ago when I started doing, I have a jazz radio show and I was doing interviews. I had a specific singer. She grew up in Kansas, but was in San Francisco. I'll never forget her name, Lisa Engelken. And she got to the end of the interview and she was like, "Why don't you put more of you in this?" I said, "Well, I'm trying to, you know, operate under the Hippocratic oath of journalists to allow you to have the platform." Because you don't want to muddle that. She was like, no, 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 no. You need to go in all you. And it was one of the best pieces of advice. It's just like that. Like that's what pulls people in. They want to know that personal story. And sometimes we're so close to our story, we're like, yeah, who cares? No one's gonna care. right?
That's what I say.
That's it. But at the end of the day, that's what defines us and makes us uniquely who we are.
Yeah.
So it makes sense,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, and in such a narcissistic society that we live in, there's that fine line between putting yourself into the mesh, putting yourself into the story, but not making it about you.
Yeah, right.
It's in service of others and hoping that when they read those stories, they're going to be like, oh, I'm going to dodge that pothole that she jumped in,
Yeah, yeah,
or see if I can try to follow suit there and not jump on a banana peel, because
yeah,
that's not a good idea if you were wondering.
because it is slippery. So let me ask you this. What gets you up every day? What is the motivator for you to not only to do your work effectively at the highest level to please your clients, but to also take care of your own soul? What's that collective energy for you every day?
There's a couple things to it. One, I love the work. I love seeing the numbers go up. So every one of my clients, we have a data dashboard, we have their strategy with visibility to the work being performed. So I have this whole display board for every client. And I just love seeing where they were when we started and where they are in time. It doesn't take very long for them to really get a foundation under themselves. It's so easy for me to see what the real problem is. Usually in discovery, they're like, oh, we have a problem with our culture. We need our culture fixed, or we need change management. And I'm like, okay, well, let's do a little bit of, let me ask some questions here. And then sometimes they just don't have a structure. They don't have anything that it's all sitting on. It's like, culture by committee, or it's all this crazy stuff.
Yeah,
And so, being able to really identify what is the root cause of all these symptoms of problems that they're seeing, and just knock that out, and then bam, it's like super low hanging fruit.
yeah,
And there's this like breath of fresh air that I can see that they're going, wow, we're really going to be okay, like this is going to be good.
yeah,
And I think my the other thing is that keeps me really excited about the work is I always take breaks. I block out time in my calendar, and I'll go see my horse. I'll go just kick back. I'll go do a little gardening. I live on some acreage that I just designed and built a house a couple of years ago. So there's always, something to do out here.
yeah.
And that's a good time for me to reflect on, the meetings that we just had, or what's coming next, or something, that I've been playing around with in my mind. Because I don't write on demand. It's sort of like when I'm inspired, oh, this is a great thought, oh, I want to write something about that. And so having that balance between client facing time and time to just dive deep in my head and think about stuff has been it's just great. I love that balance. I didn't always have that, so it's really nice to have that now.
So let's say you have a dream tonight. You run into the 18-year-old version of you ready to charge out into the world and change things. And you could
Mhm.
give that version of you a piece of advice based on this life you've lived, the wisdom you've accumulated. What advice would you impart?
I would say to slow down. Just slow down a bit. I worked my hiney off. So I worked harder than I needed to work in my early career, and it didn't get me any further to work as many hours and do as much as I was doing, because I think I was chasing the acceptance and the respect, as I mentioned early on. That wasn't good use of my time. And I think also just understanding what my purpose is. My purpose is to really help individuals and businesses get better. And as long as I'm looking through that lens, it shows up like it's on track. I mean, even before a big speaking engagement, doesn't matter if it's 5,000 or 5 people in the room. I always just kind of, say a little prayer, almost like, just help me help who's in the audience today. And that seems to take away, it's not about me. It's really about the service that I can provide. Mine just happens to be in the business vein.
Yeah, for sure. So let's say you walked into a room of everybody that knows you professionally,
Mhm.
clients, colleagues, everyone that knows you. You walk up to the podium in front of that room and you can tell them a fun story about your life. The first concert you went to, jumping out of an airplane, a magical place that you traveled to, just a fun story. What would you tell that room of people?
I'd probably tell them about I bought a 1966 Ford pickup truck.
Yeah,
And I'd probably tell him about the first time driving that thing, because it was a beast.
yeah, I bet.
I couldn't even figure out how to get the seat to come up, because everything was so mechanical.
Uh-huh.
But it was one of those projects, like one of those tinker projects that I had. And then my daughter's, I have a 17-year-old daughter, and she's sitting next to me, and I just remember looking at her face, and she was like, "Do you know what you're doing, Mom?" Like, yeah, I got it.
Yep.
Trying to steer and shift and all the things, and she's just like, "Oh God,
Yep. Everything's fine. No problem here.
everything's fine."
That's
Yeah,
good. So,
yeah.
of everything that you've done in your career and in your life and accomplished to this point, what are you the proudest of?
Mm, probably there's a couple. Probably designing and building my first house when I was 25. That was pretty huge.
Yeah.
Um, I that was kind of like not part of the plan, but became part of the plan. I couldn't find a house that I really liked. Having walked so many jobs with my dad,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you learn, he'd be like, "That's stupid design. Why'd they put that there?" So yeah, that's probably a biggie. And then training my horse. I
Yeah.
had my last horse. He just passed in January, but I had him for 30 years,
Wow.
and I trained him I got him when he was one, so he was my best buddy, and
Yeah.
that was very rewarding to walk through that process of teaching him how to do stuff and be my partner in crime.
That is amazing, the lifespan of an animal when you can see it from start to finish. I mean, we have that. That's just because of who we are as humans. We're around longer, hopefully.
Yeah,
And I had a
yeah,
dog that passed a few years ago, and I was thinking about that from start to finish. It was just wonderful. I mean, everything
yeah,
about it was magical.
yes,
And I know there's always the grief that goes into it, but I always look
yeah.
back and think that was one of the greatest kind of start to finish things that I've witnessed in my entire life. It's pretty cool.
Yes, it is. And 30 years is a long time. The
Yep.
horse, he was with me through everything, all the good and all the bad. Because even though like you look at my life from the outside and it looks amazing, the degrees and the books and all the stuff, the house and all that, the great stuff. But life's not easy. There's
No.
always a curveball being thrown at me and at everybody, not just me personally. But there are dark days.
Yep.
Even as optimistic as a person that I am, there are dark days. It's hard sometimes when you're like, man, what's why is all this coming? Like right now, I've been a single mom, with my daughter for her whole life basically, and it's tricky raising a teenager in today's days, especially a young lady. And then I've got my parents, and one's got dementia, and I'm right in that
Yep.
pulled section of trying to take care of everybody, and also trying to manage my own world. And it can be hard
Yeah.
sometimes. Things don't work out like we want them to. Every big thing I've ever gone after has started off with a major door slam.
Yep.
And then it's like, all right, challenge accepted, here we go. But and then when you get to the other side of it, you're like, whew. But
Yeah.
nobody can give you pride. You have to go through those hard times to find it on the other side. And that's really, I think, what keeps me going is, life's short. I'm more than halfway through my life now. What else can I do? Like what else is left that is going to bring me joy, and it's really exactly what I'm doing right now, which is pretty lucky. Pretty
You
lucky.
I was just reading a book, and I listen to audiobooks, and there was a part in there
Mhm.
where the father was telling the daughter, no matter what happens in life, the older you get, it's easier for you to get negative and get darker because we
Yes.
see more, we realize more, but the key to it is to remain positive. That's the key to all of this. And if you can do that, that's really kind of the goal, I think, of getting older and wiser on this planet. So
Yes,
it's,
I agree.
but we all go through our stuff for sure.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, colleagues, everyone that knows you, everyone that gets your books, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I'm goofy. I swear, I look at life like it's a cartoon. It's just, um, that's just me. Sometimes I get a little bit carried away with metaphors and stories. But you have to find the lighter side, just as you said. Life's not easy. You can't opt out of anything. Everything's coming at some point, and so finding the humor in life. And my dad had a great sense of humor, or has. He's dementia now, so I don't need to talk about him in past tense. But the earlier version of my dad had a great sense of humor, and I think that was a good lesson for me, is to find those nuggets. Sometimes I have humor in the wrong timing. That's not always a good thing, but
Yeah.
but it's helpful to be able to have that when when times are hard. It's like, all right, where's the light in this? Where's the light? in this, you know.
Yeah, for sure. So if anyone wants to get your books, they want to reach out, any of the good business, where do they go?
CyndiLaurin.com.
Okay.
CyndiLaurin.com. And my name is spelled weird, so Cyndi and Laurin. But
Okay.
I've got a bunch of free resources on my website and information about my work. You can purchase all my books there and see what Orchestrated Randomness, that's book 4. It's called Orchestrated Randomness: How to Create Your Own Luck in Business and Life. It's my life.
Excellent.
It's just yeah, it's just how do you create it, and it's possible. It's repeatable. It's predictable,
Yeah,
and anyone can do it. So I'm excited for it to come out.
I love it. Thank you so much for your story. Thank you for your good energy. I appreciate it. Best of luck with the release and everything else. I appreciate
Thanks.
it.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.